Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. Today, I would be covering a very important topic, and I also like this topic. I am studying this topic more and more, which is known as REIT. The REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. Real Estate Investment Trust. But before I initiate this video, let me tell you one thing that I would be covering this topic as country agnostic. Now, by country agnostic means that I won't be able to cover all countries in one video, because all countries of the globe are having their own respective disclosure standards as far as the real estate investment trust is concerned. Having said that, it is fairly impossible for me to cover the whole countries. Henceforth, I am covering this as an independent and country agnostic topic. Plus, I'm not claiming that the topic which I'm covering is complete in nature, because real estate investment trust is such a wide topic, is such an emerging topic that it deserves at least 20 to 30 videos to cover the whole cycle of real estate investment trust. More importantly, there are many countries of the globe, without quoting any specific name, who not only lost substantially in the last couple of years, but also linked real estate investment trust with some other kind of instruments which was not at all warranted. Ladies and gentlemen, like I told you, securitization is one of the biggest financial market in the world. If somebody would ask me, then I would say the largest market in the world is definitely the commodities, number one. Because even after 15 years of work experience in the financial market, I myself do not know that what is the daily volume of the commodities market in the world. But one thing I know, that CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade, London Mercantile Exchange, Chinese exchanges, Singapore commodity exchanges, Dalian commodity exchanges. If I add the daily volume of these top exchanges for the time being, then the volume is substantively high, beyond the imagination. Second is definitely the IR. IR stands for interest rate. When the LIBOR was set to dismantle, I was asking the same question which I'm asking today, that can anyone tell me that what is the exact volume of interest rate structures across the globe, including the structured product, not the plain vanilla product, but the structured product also. Last but not the least is the securitization market. All three, whether this is commodities, whether this is interest rate, or it is securitization, this varies from country to country. All countries have their respective standards, and we need to appreciate that. Henceforth, we cannot have a unanimous standard across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, securitization is such a big market that there are books which are written on Amazon, available on Amazon.com, covering the securitization market. And if you wish to cover the whole securitization market, then you need to buy many books at a given point of time. There is so much in the securitization market to cover. And one of the elements which we do hold in the securitization market is definitely REIT, which is called Real Estate Investment Trust. It's nothing but a kind of SPV, which is known as Special Purpose Vehicle. Now, by special purpose vehicle means that, so what is REIT? REIT is nothing but trust, a trust of income generating assets who are backed up by special purpose vehicles. Now, this is the theoretical definition of REIT. But technically speaking, the disputed point is the income generated asset. Because the income generating asset can be $1, it can be $100 million, it can be $1 billion in a year. More importantly, second thing is the SPV, which is called Special Purpose Vehicle. Like I told you that special purpose vehicle can be created in multiple ways. And one of the finest ways to create special purpose vehicle is definitely the bankruptcy proof. So example, I am holding a REIT. I myself holding a REIT, and in this REIT, I am having 100 properties which I bought in different parts of United States. Texas, Philadelphia, Florida, New York, Manhattan, New Jersey, Texas, California, Las Vegas, tick, tick, tick. I bought 100 properties across. Some properties may be very, very good income generating properties. Some properties may or might not be as good as in terms of others as far as the income generation is concerned. But having said that, I would be backing up all properties with independent SPVs, which is called special purpose vehicle. But there is a big problem in that. Why do I need a special purpose vehicle? I need a special purpose vehicle for multiple reasons, because some jurisdictions in the world are not allowing to create real estate investment trust without having special purpose vehicle into the picture. While there are some jurisdictions in the world who are allowing REIT with or without having SPV into the picture. But the tactful reason why do we need SPV is the IR structure, which is called interest rate structure. This is the full logic. Why do we need SPV backed by REIT? The owner of the REIT may or might not have substantial amount of money to purchase all the 100 properties in United States or maybe any part of the globe. So definitely there is a handsome requirement of a concept which is called funding. Now, ladies and gentlemen, funding is a very disputed word as far as the REIT is concerned, because the word funding is directly proportional to the regulatory guidelines of that country. There are few countries in the world who allowed REITs to get listed on the bourse. Now, by bourse means the stock exchange. While there are few countries in the world who are not allowing REIT to list on the boards. Now, if you're allowing the REIT to list on the board, it means that all the disclosures pertaining to the funding would be in public. While if you're not allowing the REIT to disclose to list on the board, it means it's a private vehicle. Now, being a private vehicle, even if it is listed, there are still possibilities that the private vehicles like alternate investment funds, private equity, venture capitalists, general partners, and others, they can invest in the relevant REIT. There are possibilities, there are jurisdictions in the world who are even allowing the banks to invest their lending to lend to the REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. Henceforth, when we are planning to have a REIT, which is called Real Estate Investment Trust, the very important thing which we need to appreciate is the jurisdictional guidelines of that relevant country. That is the reason in the very first thing I said in the first video is that this video is country agnostic. Because I am covering a concept. Probably the later stages videos would also be country agnostic. It is said that whatever REIT is making, now what REIT is making? REIT is making three types of income. Number one, they make interest income. I hold a big commercial complex in Manhattan. And tomorrow, Google and Microsoft is coming and saying, we need this place on lease for office. I would be the happiest man. I would say, okay, please, I was waiting for this day. I will lease this to both Google and Manhattan, Microsoft, and they would pay me $2 million per month as a rent, assuming. Now that rent is income generation. Now that rent, I am going to be excluding the electricity cost, the maintenance cost, the facility cost, any form of depreciation, and so on and so forth. Number one. Number two, I created a very big commercial complex in Texas. And suppose, just all hypothetical example, General Motor is saying that I wanted to have this commercial complex, but not on the lease. I wanted to buy it. And suppose I created this in $3 million. I would be the happiest man. I would say, okay, you're most welcome. My selling price is $8 million. Now, $3 million I invested, building and all, painting, fixing everything. And I would be selling in $8 million. $5 million is my profit. More than 100% is my profit. Number three type of income REITs are generating is the capital appreciation. And that is the highest disputed point according to me. Because when it comes to REIT, there is a concept called private valuation. Like the hypothetical example which I posted in the video that I am the owner of the REIT, bought 100 properties in United States. These properties are private properties. I need to get them valued. And valuation is done by a third party. It may possible third party give me an extensive valuation. It may possible third party may not give me extensive valuation. In this eventuality, the valuation is always private. And whether I am listed or whether I am unlisted, the share price, especially in case when I am unlisted, it completely directly proportional to the valuation. So suppose I bought properties 3 years ago. When I bought the properties, the total valuation of all US properties were $50 million, assuming. And now it is $150 million, which means it is 3 times, which means the profit is 200%. Because I invested 50, current value is 150, it means I am getting 100 million of profit, which means 200%. Now, for a minute, I assume I tend to be unlisted. I decide I will not take the pain to be listed, no more disclosures like this, that, XYZ. In this eventuality, the very important thing for me is my share price is backed up by valuation. More importantly, not to mention the economic downturns, which you know what I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, real estate investment trust is one of the finest inventions in the world of securitization. But having said that, different jurisdictions of the globe are having different jurisdictional guidelines. In this eventuality, it is always advisable to study the guidelines of that jurisdiction and then invest in REIT. Sometimes what happens, the REIT is backed up by our largest real estate player who is further backed up by a private equity person. or maybe a venture capitalist person. In this eventuality, there is an element that comes into the picture, and that element is called control. So control is technically of that private equity person. Now that private equity person, for a minute, if goes away, in this eventuality, the everything would go away. Henceforth, the org structure means the organizational structure needs to be carefully understood. Needs to be carefully understood. In short, there are ample of things to cover as far as the real estate investment trust is concerned. And I assure you, in a due course of time. Now, when I say due course of time, I do not mean that next month or 2 months, because there are a hell lot of topics which we are covering, plus our TRFX Academy. In due course of time, we would definitely try and cover each and every part of the real estate investment trust, because we believe that this is, as a product, is something very important to understand.